Hello, and welcome to Steph Doll. I am, unsurprisingly, Steph. And several months ago, I made Naira Malabar for the Mega Divus Collab hosted by Dollmotion. That collab was actually a test run for the Mega Divus Collab. This time, anyone could take part, and I'm really excited to see what everyone else made. I decided to make a non-binary Sika Deer, who will be Naira's friend and classmate at university. So let's get started. I've been wanting to customize a Creatable world doll for a while now, since they have really good articulation, and I thought this project would be perfect for it. I heat up the head with my hairdryer until it's nice and squishy and easy to remove. Then I cut the doll's hair as close as I can to the scalp. I use a screwdriver to scrape the rest of the hair out from the inside. Then I use tweezers to pull it out through the neck opening. And we're all done. Time to wipe off the factory paint using pure acetone. Let's try that again. What? This doesn't even look like the pixelated BTS faces, but it's still not budging. Time for some time-lapse gentle scrubbing, I guess. That took ages, but we finally got there. I marked the points on the head that I want their antlers and new ears to be, which means I gotta remove those human ones. Then I start inserting wires into existing holes for the armature for the antlers. I start with shorter pieces to make sure the antlers are evenly spaced. Then I add longer pieces that I bent in half. Then I start twisting and shaping the wires into the antler shape I want. And there we go. I mix equal parts A and B of my epoxy sculpt and get to work on the first pass of the antlers, mainly covering the wires and filling out the shape a bit. To make the ears, I roll a small amount of clay into a ball and then begin shaping it into a sort of flat diamond. I attach the whiter base to the head. Later, I come back in with a silicone tool to add dimension. Once the first layer is cured, I left it overnight. I mix up more epoxy sculpt and really flesh out the antlers using a little water for smoothing. And here's where we are the following day. Everything is cured. So I use a Posca pen to trace around the ears and the antlers and carefully remove them. I label each piece as I go, so I put it back in the right place later. I only did a little bit of sanding this time just to correct some of the shaping of the clay. Then I can give everything a couple of base layers of brown acrylic paint. For the inner ears, I mixed some white acrylic ink into the brown paint. It came out sort of a muted pinky tan, which worked really well. I applied 2 coats of this too. I wanted to darken the tips of the antlers to black, so I did some dry brushing to create a rough gradient. Once the paint was dry, I sealed the antlers in with 2 layers of matte Mod Podge. We'll deal with the ears later. Now back to the head. I painted the scalp, except for the spots where the ears and antlers will go, with 2 coats of brown acrylic paint. I also smoothed out the hairline where I removed the human ears. Afterwards, I gave it 2 coats of matte Mod Podge as well, to give it the best chance of surviving the reroot. I'll be using this hot pink yarn for their hair. I painted the scalp brown to give it the illusion of natural colored roots. The style itself will be fairly short, So I wind my yarn around my handy piece of cardboard and cut it not once, but twice. And then, the unraveling. Dun dun dun! Now I have my yarn, the head, and my doll needle. But I want to give this character shaved sides, almost like a mohawk but a little bit wider. To help guide myself, I used some thin washi tape to mark the new hairline on the sides. Once it looks even, I can start rerooting. I take a strand of yarn and thread it through my needle. Then I stab it into one of the pre-existing holes and out through the neck opening. I tie the end of the yarn into a knot a couple of times and then pull it taut from the outside. As I work my way around, I have to make new holes to create the new hairline. I just do this with my doll needle since it's sharp. I line my needle up with the last strand and poke it into the head a little further along that tape guideline. I want it to be close, but not so close that I'll tear a hole in the vinyl. You can sort of look at the spacing on the factory hairline to get a rough idea. And I keep going all the way around the hairline. Then I fill the rest in from top to bottom. And here's how it looks now. It's a lot. Let's remove the tape. I'll have to touch up the brown paint later, but that's okay. The new hairline looks really good. I carefully brush out and straighten the yarn section by section. Once I'm done, I can wrap up the hair to protect it for the face-up. After 2 initial sprays of Mr. Super Clear, I begin sketching out the face with a light brown pencil. Once I'm happy with it, I begin applying pastels. Then I go over my sketch lines with a dark brown. Every so often, I'll spray the head with another layer of MSC to save my progress. I keep going, building up color and refining their features layer by layer. It seems that I'm never having luck filling in the eye whites with pencil alone anymore, so I use some white acrylic ink to brighten them up. While I'm working on the face-up, a quick question for y'all. Would you like me to list the materials I use in the description of my videos? I know a lot of other doll artists do it, and some people find it useful. Let me know what you think in the comments. I use acrylic ink again to add their eye shines, some cute little spots in their cheeks like freckles, even though I know deer don't have those, but it looks cute, so... And I paint in the white rings around their eyes. After 2 final coats of MSC, the face-up is done. Time to work on the body. And I need to drill a hole for their future tail, so remember folks, wear safety gear and take proper precautions when operating power tools. Be an adult, as I always say. This is also the same mask I wear when I spray Mr. Super Clear. It's been too long since I've used my Dremel. I drilled the hole a little off center, but that's fine. No one will notice but me. I used a Sharpie to color in their ankle and wrist joints before painting their feet and hands black, like hooves. After a couple of coats of MSC, I began layering pastels, adding another coat of MSC whenever I need it. Once I'm happy with the pastels, I add white spots with acrylic ink, who is the star of the show, this video, apparently. I seal everything in with 2 final coats of MSC, and I let it sit for 3 days to make sure everything was good, and then added a layer of Liquitex matte varnish to finish off the body. Make sure to read those labels, folks. Now I can remove the protective cover from the hair and touch up that brown paint. I'll be covering these areas, as well as their ears, in flock. So I gotta make some flock. I take bits of yarn that are a pinky tan, like the insides of the ears, and cut it up into teeny tiny pieces. It takes a while, but with editing magic, it's done. I then go back in and cut up the fluff itself, making the fibers even smaller. To make the brown flock, I'll be using some of the leftover yarn fluff from my Met Gala Zendaya doll. As with the yarn, I cut it up into tiny pieces and then cut the resulting fluff even more. To attach the flock, I spread some Mod Podge on the area I want to flock. Then I press the flock onto it. I gently brush the larger clumps off with my fingertips. I do the same for the head, except with the brown flock. And I leave everything to dry overnight. Then the next day, I can use a toothbrush to brush off any excess flock. I got good coverage with only 1 layer this time, which is awesome. So I move on to flocking the brown part of the ears using the same process. And now, it's time to reattach the head. Just like when I removed it, I heated up with a hairdryer to make the vinyl soft, so I can get the head back on without damaging it. I almost forgot about the tail. First, I make an armature out of wire and bandage tape. I prepared yarn wefts off camera. To see how I make them in depth, please go take a look at Naira's video. This video is already long enough as it is. I'll leave a link in the description. I trim and glue the wefts, starting at the tip of the tail and working up. I add white on the tips and the sides, with that sort of pinky tan underneath and brown on top. Once everything is dry, I give the tail a trim. And now we have a little deer tail. To reattach the antlers, I trim 2 of the wires off, leaving 1 intact as a sort of anchor. I move the hair out of the way and I reinsert the remaining wire to make sure it's in a good position. Then I pull the antler up slightly so the wire is still inside the head, and add super glue. And then I push the antler back down and hold it in place for a bit, and I do the same for the other antler. I also used super glue to attach the ears and the tail. I used an eyebrow razor to cut their hair and used water and a toothbrush to smooth the fibers down. To my horror, one eye ruined. This happened to my last stall too, with only water. I blame the super cold weather we're having. That doesn't play nice with MSC at all. So, I wrapped them up again, sprayed on some more Mr. Super Clear, and got to work. I was able to fix it with no issue, and I don't think anyone could even tell. As a final touch, I add gloss to their nose, lips, eye shines, and waterline. Now they just need an outfit, and I can call them done. I used existing doll clothes this time because I have so many Creatable World pieces on hand. They're really good quality, and I think they fit the character really well. I've decided to name them Ren Sika. Sika for the deer species, obviously, and Ren because it's a gender-neutral Japanese name. I absolutely love them. And putting Ren and Naira side by side, I think I can see an improvement in my skills, which is always cool. What do you think of Ren? Are there any more animal dolls you'd like to see me make? Let me know in the comments down below. Ren is the second non-binary doll I've made. The other K was for one of the first ever collabs I took part in back in 2019, which was a Pride collab. I think that was was that 2019? I don't know what year it is anymore. There is no definitive non-binary look, and I really want to continue making non-binary and gender non-conforming dolls with all sorts of different presentations and body types. Please, please, please go and watch the Mega Divus Collab showcase video over on Dollmotion's channel to see everyone's amazing creations. I've seen a handful on Instagram so far and they look awesome. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and click the bell icon to receive a notification every time I post a new video. Don't forget that you can also follow me on Instagram @StephWoodall. Now that I'm done with Ren, I can focus on completing my 1K Instagram follower giveaway doll. I've been a bit slow on that one. Be sure to look out for work in progress and more polls in my Instagram stories and in my highlights. With that said, until next time, bye!